You walk into a store. Soft music plays in the background. You notice a familiar scent. You're not quite sure why, but suddenly, you feel calm, open, receptive. You walk past the shelf. Something catches your eye. You reach out. You grab it. You buy it. Later, when someone asks why, you'll say, I just liked it. It felt right. But it didn't. Not really. It was placed there. Lit that way. Scented for that moment. Framed for that feeling. Engineered for your brain. You didn't choose it. It chose you. And you didn't even notice. Let's talk about how manipulation works. Not the obvious kind. Not lies. Not threats. Not force. But the quiet kind. The kind that feels like your own idea. The kind that hides in plain sight. In ads. In headlines. In slogans. In colors. In silence. The kind that makes you think, this is me. But it isn't. Let's begin with priming. Priming is when your brain is exposed to one stimulus, and it subtly affects how you react to another. You see a word like elderly, and you walk more slowly afterward. You see an ad that flashes the color green, and suddenly you associate the product with natural, fresh, safe, even if it's not. One image, one sound, one phrase, and your entire emotional framework shifts. It doesn't ask for permission. You don't feel it happening, but it's real, and it's powerful. Now imagine being primed, dozens of times a day. Every headline, every logo, every scroll, and you think you're deciding. You think you're informed, but you've been softened, tilted, pulled. Let's talk about framing. Framing is how information is presented, not what's said, but how it's said. 90% fat-free feels better than 10% fat. Tax relief feels better than funding cuts. Freedom fighters sounds noble. Insurgents sounds violent, even if they describe the same group. Politicians, advertisers, media, they don't need to lie. They just need to frame it right. And people won't just agree. They'll fight for it. Let's talk about anchoring. Anchoring is when a number is introduced and your brain clings to it, even if it's meaningless. A $300 jacket marked down to $99 feels like a deal, even if it was never worth $300. You see, limited time offer. And suddenly, urgency takes over. Scarcity. Fear of missing out. Not logic. You didn't weigh the facts. You reacted to the anchor. And this is used everywhere. From online sales to policy debates. From negotiation tables to dating apps. Now let's talk about something darker. The illusion of choice. You think you're choosing, but often you've only been given the illusion of agency. A menu with 3 options, 2 bad ones, and 1 reasonable one. You'll pick the reasonable one every time. That's called the decoy effect. It's used in politics, in pricing, in product lines. You're nudged toward what they want by surrounding it with what they don't. And you call it your decision. But it's not. Let's go deeper. Have you ever seen an ad that made you feel warm? Understood? Seen? That wasn't an accident. It was targeted. Your age, your gender, your location, your browsing history, your emotional profile, built from data points you don't remember giving. It knows you better than you know yourself. Because it's been watching, silently, constantly, and when the moment is right, it strikes, with the exact tone, the right word, the perfect song. You feel moved, connected, safe. So you click, you buy, you vote, And you think, that felt right. But it wasn't you. It was the system. And it knew exactly when and how to reach you. Let's talk about social proof. You see, 10,000 people already bought this. You assume it must be good. You see comments flooded with praise. You feel pressure to agree. You see a political post with millions of likes. You start questioning your own stance. It's not truth. It's momentum. And the mind fears being left behind. So you follow. You conform. You adopt beliefs you didn't question. Because you saw enough people nodding along. Now ask yourself, when was the last time you held an opinion that didn't come with social rewards? That made people uncomfortable? That made you alone? Most people don't. Because comfort feels safer than truth. And the people in power, they know this. Let's pause. You're already seeing the cracks. The gaps between what you think you are and what's been installed. Let's go even deeper. You didn't wake up into a neutral world. You were born into a system. Not by accident, but by design. A system that runs on influence, on attention, on emotional leverage. Let's talk about propaganda. You think propaganda is old. Posters, dictators, marching crowds. But propaganda never left. It just changed outfits. Now it's clean. It's fast. It's optimized. Instead of billboards, it's algorithms. Instead of leaflets, it's sponsored content. Instead of force, it's frictionless design. The message doesn't scream. It whispers. It wraps itself in humor, in virality, in aesthetic. You share it because it makes you laugh, because it feels harmless. But every share is a transmission. Every click, a micro-conversion. And the propaganda moves faster now than any truth ever could. Let's talk about strategic repetition. Say a lie enough times. People start to repeat it. They don't even realize they've accepted it. It just feels familiar. And the brain equates familiarity with truth. Advertisers repeat slogans. Politicians repeat talking points. News outlets echo each other. And before you know it, you're repeating it too. Not because it's right, but because it sounds right. Let's talk about fear. Fear works. It always has. If I can make you afraid, I can sell you safety. If I can make you afraid, I can sell you control. If I can make you afraid, I can point you toward an enemy. And your rational mind shuts down. Because the brain doesn't want accuracy when it's scared. It wants certainty. That's why political ads so often rely on fear, not facts. Fear. They show you what you'll lose. Who's coming for you? What will happen if you don't act now? And you do. You vote. You donate. You fight. Because you're afraid. Let's talk about division. If I want to control you, I don't need to own you. I just need you to distrust your neighbor. Divide and conquer. It still works. Convince people their fellow citizens are the real threat. That the other side is evil. That compromise is weakness. That nuance is betrayal. And then, you'll never unite. Never question the ones pulling the strings. You'll be too busy fighting each other. And those at the top, stay untouched. Let's talk about manufactured identity. Political campaigns don't just target issues. They target identities. They don't say, you should support this. They say, you're the kind of person who supports this. It's subtle, but powerful. Because once you believe your stance is who you are, you'll defend it. Even when it's wrong. Even when it hurts you. You won't change your mind. Because it would feel like changing yourself. Let's talk about pacing and leading. This technique is ancient. You start by agreeing with someone, matching their tone, their fears, their language. Then, you guide them, slowly, one step at a time, until they're standing where you wanted them all along. Advertisers do it. Cult leaders do it. So do politicians. We all want what's best. We all care about our families. That's why we must. And suddenly, you're nodding. Because the first part was true. And you accepted the rest. Without seeing the switch, let's talk about false balance. Sometimes the illusion of fairness is the most dangerous lie. You hear, both sides are equally flawed. Everyone's biased. But that's not always true. Sometimes, one side is lying, and the other isn't. But presenting them as equal, that neutralizes your outrage, paralyzes your judgment, makes you shrug and walk away. And those who lied, win. Because silence is a victory too. Let's talk about overload. Too much information. Too fast. Too fragmented. And your brain shuts down. You stop checking. Stop thinking. You go numb. And when you're numb, you become passive. That's the goal. Not to persuade. Not to win you over. But to exhaust you. So you stop resisting. So you click what feels good. Believe what feels simple. Follow what feels familiar. Because complexity is painful. And the machine knows this. Let's talk about feedback loops. You believe what you see. Then you see more of it. And more. And more. Because the algorithm feeds what you engage with. And you engage with what provokes you. So your feed becomes a hall of mirrors, showing you only your tribe, your beliefs, your fears. And the longer you stay, the more certain you become that you're right, and everyone else is crazy. That's not coincidence. That's architecture. And it's built to addict you, divide you, trap you. Let's pause. Are you starting to feel it? That creeping suspicion? That you haven't been driving this car as long as you thought? You're starting to see the machine. How it was built. How it works. But you still think you're outside of it. That you're the exception. That this story isn't about you. Let's test that next. You've started to notice the patterns. The nudges. The invisible hands. You're realizing the system wasn't just around you. It was inside you. Shaping your thoughts. Guiding your choices. Defining your self. But part of you still believes, I'm too smart to fall for this. I know when I'm being manipulated. Let's test that. Have you ever clicked on an article? Not because it mattered, but because the headline triggered you? Have you ever scrolled through outrage? Because it felt good to feel angry? Have you ever bought something because the packaging said eco or clean, even though you never checked if it was? Have you ever shared a political post you didn't verify because it confirmed what you already believed? If so, you weren't deciding. You were reacting. Conditioned. Predictable. Trained. Let's talk about reactive identity. You see a headline that insults your values. You don't think. You fire. You retweet. You rage. You fight. And every reaction feeds the machine. Because outrage equals engagement. Engagement equals data. Data equals profit. You're not being heard. You're being harvested. Let's talk about surveillance capitalism. Every click, every pause, every search. Tracked. You didn't consent. Not really. You scrolled through the terms and conditions. Clicked, I agree, because you had no other choice. And now, there are companies that know more about you than your own family does. They know when you're vulnerable, when you're most likely to buy, when you're likely to spiral. And they use that to sell you products, to sell you ideas, to sell you versions of yourself. Because if they can define you, they can control you. Let's talk about synthetic authenticity. You think, this ad feels different. It's real. It gets me. It isn't. It was A, B, tested, polished, micro-targeted. Even the imperfection is planned. The slightly shaky camera, the handwritten font, the casual tone. It's not raw. It's engineered to look raw. And it works. Because your brain can't tell the difference. Not at that speed. Not after that much conditioning. Let's talk about emotional resonance. You don't buy facts. You buy feelings. You don't vote logic. You vote identity. You don't share information. You share emotion. Marketers know this. Campaign managers know this. Influencers know this. And they use it. They make you feel seen, safe, heard, loved, afraid. And then they present the solution, the product, the candidate, the cause. And you follow because it feels good, or it feels urgent, or it feels true. And you never stop to ask, how did this idea get inside me? Let's talk about internalized propaganda. This is when the manipulation has worked so well. You do it for them. You repeat the slogans. You attack the critics. You shame the doubters. You gatekeep the narrative. You become the enforcer, the unpaid soldier, the believer, even when it harms you, even when the system doesn't care about you. That's the final stage of control. When the cage is invisible and you defend it. Let's talk about the deepest layer, the self. You think your thoughts are yours, that your values are yours, that your identity is solid, stable, true, but it was built brick by brick, from inputs, from suggestions, from incentives. You were told what success looks like, what beauty looks like, what normal looks like, what rebellion looks like. You were given labels, roles, fears, and over time, you stopped questioning them. You started calling them you. But maybe you were never outside the system, because the system is inside you. Now here's the question. If you can't trust your memory, if your thoughts are not your own, if your attention is hijacked, if your identity was built for you, then who are you? And more importantly, can you ever escape? The answer is not simple. There's no product, no course, no app, because freedom isn't outside. It's awareness. It's not deleting your social media. It's noticing the pull. It's watching the thoughts. It's hearing the slogans. And not repeating them automatically. It's slowing down. It's asking, why did I believe that? Who benefits from this reaction? Is this mine, or was it placed here? Awareness won't make you immune, but it will make you dangerous. Because the system relies on silence, on speed, on sleepwalking. And when you awaken, even for a moment, you become unpredictable. So now I ask you, are you ready? To see the strings, to feel the weight of the mask, to hear the voice in your head, and realize it might not be yours? Are you ready to begin again? From nothing certain, to walk without a script, to think a thought that wasn't installed? If you are, then for the first time in your life, you're free. Not comfortable, not certain, but awake. And they can't sell that. Not yet.